If you grew up in the 60s, you remember transistor radios, jukeboxes at diners, your sister's record player spinning 45s. Music wasn't background noise. It was the soundtrack to summer afternoons, school dances, and family road trips. Some songs played so often you knew every word. These are 12 songs 1960s kids listened to all the time. Number 12. Surfin U.S.A. by the Beach Boys. This song hit the airwaves in March 1963, and suddenly every kid in America wanted to learn how to surf, even if they lived 1,000 miles from the ocean. The Beach Boys took Chuck Berry's melody from Sweet Little 16 and turned it into something completely different, a celebration of California beach culture that spread across the entire country. Surfin U.S.A. Brian Wilson, who wrote the song with Mike Love, got the list of actual surf spots from a surfer friend. The song name drops beaches from Redondo to Huntington, La Jolla to Waimea Bay. For kids growing up in landlocked states, those place names sounded exotic and wonderful, like somewhere you'd see in a magazine or a movie. The song peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and spent 25 weeks on the charts. Radio stations played it constantly that summer. It became the Beach Boys' breakthrough hit, establishing them as the premier surf rock band of the decade. Kids would sing it on the playground, hum it while doing homework, and request it at every school dance. Tell the teacher we're surfing U.S.A. The harmonies were tight and polished in a way that set the Beach Boys apart from other rock bands. The Wilson brothers, Brian, Dennis, and Carl, along with their cousin Mike Love and friend Al Jardine, had grown up singing together. And you could hear that family connection in every note. The vocal blend was so smooth it sounded effortless, though the hours they spent perfecting it were anything but. Surfin U.S.A. The irony was that Brian Wilson himself wasn't much of a surfer. It was his brother Dennis who actually spent time on the waves. But Brian had a gift for capturing a feeling, a lifestyle, a moment in time. And this song captured the optimism and freedom of being young in the early 60s. It made every kid dream of California sunshine and ocean waves, whether they'd ever seen the Pacific or not. Surfin U.S.A. Number 11. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. When this song landed in America in January 1964, everything changed. The Beatles had been huge in Britain, but American kids hadn't caught on yet. Then Ed Sullivan brought them onto his show, and on February 1st, 1964, this song hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. I think you'll understand when Paul McCartney and John Lennon wrote it together, sitting face to face at a piano, the way they often collaborated in those early days. The story goes that they were trying to write a hit specifically for the American market, and they succeeded beyond anyone's wildest imagination. They wrote it in the basement of Jane Asher's family home in London, and the moment they finished, they knew they had something special. I wanna hold your hand. The song spent 7 weeks at number 1. It sold over 1 million copies in just 10 days. Kids bought it, played it until the record wore out, and bought it again. The melody was simple enough that everyone could sing along, but there was something electric about it. Something that made you want to move. The hand claps, the harmonies, the energy. It all combined to create pure excitement in 3 minutes and 24 seconds. You got that something. Parents didn't always understand the appeal. The Beatles had longer hair than most men wore in 1964. And their sound was different from the smooth crooners of previous decades. Some adults thought it was just a fad, something that would disappear in a few months. But kids didn't care what their parents thought. This was their music, their band, their moment. The Beatles represented something new, something that belonged to the younger generation. The song kicked off Beatlemania in America. Within months, the Beatles had 5 songs in the top 5 on the Billboard charts at the same time, a record that stood for over 50 years. Every kid wanted a Beatles lunchbox, Beatles trading cards, Beatles everything. The four young men from Liverpool had conquered America with 3 chords and infectious melodies. Number 10. Twist and Shout by the Beatles. The Beatles didn't write this one. It was originally recorded by the Top Notes in 1961, then by the Isley Brothers in 1962. But when the Beatles covered it and released it in America in 1964, it became theirs. Their version had an urgency and rawness that made it impossible to ignore. John Lennon sang lead vocals, and you can hear the rasp in his voice. They recorded it in a single take at the end of a long recording session. Lennon's voice was already worn out from singing all day, but producer George Martin told them to give it one shot. That raw, gritty vocal became one of the song's defining features. Lennon later said his throat was in shreds after that recording, but the pain was worth it. The song was perfect for dancing. School gyms across America vibrated with the sound of kids twisting and shouting their way through sock hops and mixers. It peaked at number 2 on the charts in 1964, kept from the top spot by another Beatles song. For a brief, remarkable period, the Beatles were essentially competing against themselves on the charts. Kids loved that it felt a little rebellious. It was loud, it was energetic, and it was fun in a way that felt slightly dangerous. Teachers and parents weren't always thrilled when kids cranked up the volume, which of course made kids love it even more. The sheer exuberance of the performance, the way Lennon's voice builds from verse to verse, getting more intense with each repetition, captured the feeling of being young and alive in a way few songs ever have. Number 9. My Girl by The Temptations. February 1965. The Motown sound was taking over, and this song went straight to number 1. The Temptations had been around for a few years, but this was their first chart topper, and it became their signature song for good reason. Smokey Robinson wrote it, and David Ruffin sang lead. That opening bass line was instantly recognizable. You'd hear the first few notes and know exactly what was coming. James Jamerson played that bass line, and it became one of the most famous in all of popular music. The song was smooth, sweet, and romantic in a way that appealed to kids who were starting to think about dating and relationships. The lyrics painted a picture of perfect love. When the weather was cold outside, he had the month of May. He didn't need money or fame because he had his girl. It was an idealized vision of romance that teenagers wanted to believe in. The imagery was simple but powerful. Sunshine on a cloudy day, the month of May, a sweeter song than birds singing, all metaphors for how his girl made him feel. Girls would sing it about their boyfriends. Boys would dedicate it to their girlfriends on the radio. It played at school dances during the slow songs, when nervous kids would finally work up the courage to ask someone to dance. The tempo was perfect for swaying back and forth, close enough to feel brave, scared enough to make it matter. The song stayed on the charts for 15 weeks and became one of Motown's most enduring hits. Decades later, people who grew up in the 60s can still sing every word. The Temptations performed it thousands of times over the years, and it never lost its power to make people smile, to make them remember their first real crush, their first slow dance, their first taste of something that felt like love. Number 8. Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. This one was different. When it came out in October of 1966, it didn't sound like anything else on the radio. The Beach Boys had moved beyond simple surf songs into something more experimental, more complex. This was Brian Wilson's masterpiece, the song that proved he was more than just a guy who wrote catchy tunes about California. Brian Wilson spent months recording it. The song cost over $50,000 to produce, an astronomical amount for 1966. When most singles were recorded in a day or two for a fraction of that budget, Wilson pieced it together from different recording sessions held at multiple studios, creating something that had multiple movements, unusual instruments including a theremin, and harmonies that seemed to float and shimmer. The recording process became legendary. Wilson would work on one section at one studio, then move to another studio to record a different part, constantly searching for the perfect sound. Kids weren't quite sure what to make of it at first. It was stranger than Surfin U.S.A., less straightforward than their earlier hits. The song shifted moods and tempos, building and releasing tension in ways that were more complex than typical pop songs. But something about it clicked. The song went to #1 and stayed there. It fit the psychedelic era that was emerging, the sense that music could be art, could be experimental, could take you somewhere new.
I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me.
The theremin gave it an otherworldly quality. That eerie, wavering sound that drifted through the song made it feel futuristic and strange. You could close your eyes and feel like you were floating. For kids starting to explore the counterculture, starting to question the conventional wisdom their parents had taught them, this song felt like it was speaking their language, opening doors to new ways of thinking and feeling. Number 7. I Heard It Through the Grapevine by Marvin Gaye. Gladys Knight and the Pips recorded it first in 1967, and it was a hit. But when Marvin Gaye released his version in October 1968, it became something bigger. The song spent 7 weeks at #1 and became Motown's biggest-selling single up to that point, moving over 4 million copies. The production was dark, moody, atmospheric. Norman Whitfield created a sound that was different from the typical Motown brightness. There was tension in every note, a sense of betrayal and heartbreak that felt real. The arrangement built slowly, layer upon layer of instruments, creating a wall of sound that felt both sophisticated and emotionally raw.
Don't you know that I heard it through the grapevine?
Gaye's vocal performance was masterful. He didn't oversing it. He let the emotion come through in subtle ways, in the phrasing, in the quiet moments between the words. His voice carried pain and confusion, the hurt of finding out someone you trusted had betrayed you. Kids who were old enough to have experienced their first heartbreak connected with it deeply. Even younger kids who hadn't been through that yet could hear the emotion in Gaye's voice and understand that something important and painful was being expressed. The song was over 7 minutes long in its original album version, though radio stations played a shorter edit that clocked in around 3 minutes. Even the shortened version was longer than most pop songs of the era, but nobody complained. You didn't want it to end. The hypnotic groove, the building intensity, the way Gaye's voice wrapped around the melody, it was mesmerizing from the first note to the last. Number 6. Hey Jude by the Beatles.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad.
In September 1968, the Beatles released a song that was over 7 minutes long. Unheard of for a single. Radio stations said it was too long. The Beatles said, play it anyway. Radio stations played it. Paul McCartney wrote it for John Lennon's son Julian, who was going through his parents' divorce. The sentiment was simple and beautiful. Take a sad song and make it better. The melody was comforting, reassuring.
The minute you let her under your skin.
The song builds and builds. For the last 4 minutes, it's essentially just the same few words repeated over and over. Na, 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 with the band and an orchestra swelling behind it. Kids loved singing along to that part. At concerts, at parties, anywhere the song played, everyone would join in. It went to #1 and stayed there for 9 weeks. It became the Beatles' best-selling single in the United States. Teachers would hear kids humming it in the hallways. It played at every school dance, every party, every gathering. The song felt universal. Whether you were dealing with your parents' divorce, struggling at school, feeling lonely or confused, the message was the same. Don't carry the weight of the world. Take a sad song and make it better.
Remember to let her into your heart.
Number 5. I Get Around by the Beach Boys.
I get around, yeah, I get around, round, round.
Summer 1964. This became the Beach Boys' first #1 hit in the United States, and it captured everything kids loved about summer vacation: freedom, fun, adventure, and the open road. The song starts with that incredible barbershop quartet-style a cappella intro, then kicks into full gear. Brian Wilson's falsetto, the harmonies, the energy, it all combined to create something that felt like pure joy. The lyrics were about cruising around town, meeting girls, having a good time. For teenagers who had just gotten their driver's licenses, or were dreaming about the day they would, this song was an anthem. It represented independence, the ability to go wherever you wanted. Kids played it with the car windows down, radio turned up, driving around town with nowhere particular to go and all afternoon to get there. It played at beach parties, at drive-ins, at sock hops. The song showcased the Beach Boys at their peak. Tight harmonies, catchy melodies, and a production quality that was ahead of its time. It spent 2 weeks at #1 and helped cement the Beach Boys as one of the defining bands of the decade. Number 4. The Twist by Chubby Checker. This song originally came out in 1960, but it did something no other song in rock and roll history has ever done. It went to #1 twice, once in 1960 and again in 1962. The dance was simple enough that anyone could do it. You didn't need a partner, you didn't need lessons. You just twisted your hips and moved your feet like you were putting out a cigarette and drying yourself with a towel at the same time. That's how Chubby Checker described it anyway. Kids did the twist at school dances, at birthday parties, in their living rooms. Parents did it too, which was unusual. The twist broke down age barriers in a way that most rock and roll didn't. Even adults who thought rock music was just noise found themselves twisting at parties. The song created a full-blown dance craze. There were twist contests, twist clubs, twist everything. Other dance crazes would follow throughout the decade, but the twist was the first and biggest. Chubby Checker became a household name. The song sold millions of copies, and decades later, it's still instantly recognizable. Those opening saxophone notes and that simple, infectious beat, once you heard it, you wanted to move.
And do the twist, clap your hands with me, say yeah.
Number 3, Louie Louie by the Kingsmen. Released in 1963, this became one of the most controversial songs of the decade, and kids loved it partly because adults hated it. The song was actually written and first recorded in 1956 by Richard Berry, but the Kingsmen's version was the one that became famous. The recording quality was terrible, muddy, distorted, hard to understand, but that lo-fi sound became part of its charm. Because you couldn't understand the words clearly, rumors spread that the lyrics were obscene. The FBI actually investigated, trying to figure out if the song contained hidden dirty words. They never found any. The lyrics were completely innocent, just a sailor telling a bartender about his girl back home. But the myth persisted. Kids would gather around radios and record players, trying to decipher the words, convinced they were getting away with something. Parents and teachers banned it in some places, which of course made it more popular. The song became a garage band staple. It only used 3 chords, so any kid who had been taking guitar lessons for a few months could play it. Thousands of teenage bands across America learned this song first. Number 2, Respect by Aretha Franklin. When Aretha Franklin recorded this Otis Redding song in 1967, she transformed it completely. Redding had written it as a man asking his woman for respect. Franklin turned it into a demand, a declaration, a statement of power. The song went to #1 on both the pop and R&B charts. It spent 2 weeks at the top and became Franklin's signature song. For young women coming of age in the late 60s, for the civil rights movement gaining momentum, this song was an anthem. Franklin's vocal performance was transcendent. The way she spelled out R-E-S-P-E-C-T, The way her voice soared and commanded, it was impossible not to feel the power of it. Kids didn't always understand the full political and social context, but they understood the emotion, the strength, the refusal to be diminished. The song played everywhere. On the radio, at parties, in cars, and living rooms. People would shout along to the spelling part, would sing the backup parts. It was participatory in a way that made you feel connected to something bigger than yourself. Number 1. Happy Together by the Turtles. Spring, 1967. This song went to number 1 and stayed there for 3 weeks. It was pure pop perfection, a catchy melody, harmonies that stuck in your head, and lyrics about idealized young love. Gary Bonner and Alan Gordon wrote it, but the Turtles made it their own. The production was clean and bright, the kind of song that sounded good on transistor radios and car speakers and jukeboxes.
So happy together.
The lyrics were simple but effective, imagining spending every day together, being happy forever, the world belonging to just the two of you. For kids experiencing their first relationships, first crushes, first real feelings of romance, this song captured exactly how they wanted to feel. It played constantly that summer. Kids slow danced to it at proms and school mixers. They requested it on the radio. They bought the single and played it until the grooves wore down. The song had a brightness to it, an optimism that defined the mid-60s before things got more complicated later in the decade. It was about believing that love could conquer everything, that being together was all that mattered, that happiness was simple and attainable. Looking back now, that innocence seems almost quaint. But for kids growing up in 1967, this song felt like a promise, like a glimpse of the future they wanted to build. These 12 songs defined a decade for a generation of kids. They weren't just background music. They were the soundtrack to first dances, first crushes, summer vacations, and the slow process of growing up. The melodies are still there, stored in memory, ready to transport anyone who lived through those years back to a time when life felt simpler and the future seemed bright. The radio doesn't sound quite the same anymore, but these songs remain. Perfect time capsules from an era when music felt like it belonged to you and your friends, like it was made just for kids who were young in the 1960s. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel for more nostalgic looks back at the music that defined our youth.